All right, everyone. Once you ball the hair out with your trimmer, what you want to do is use your electric shaver if the client's skin can take it without irritation and remove all the little excess hairs. Because the balder you have it, the longer the unit will last because the glue will work better and it's less hair growing back. And when that hair starts growing back, it'll start pushing the glue off the scalp. It can cause lift on your unit. So once you balled it out, the next process is cleaning the scalp with the alcohol. Make sure you brush all the excess hair off before you start applying alcohol. With the alcohol, you want to remove any dirt, excess hair, and oil from the skin so that the glue can hold the unit best as possible. Once you allow this alcohol to dry, the next step is to draw on your outline. You can use the tan barber pencils, or you can use a black wax pencil, or eyeliner pencil, anything that you can still see on the skin once you apply the hair. Now this area right here on the forehead, wherever the forehead wrinkles at, you want to make sure you don't draw your line down too low and you do not apply the hair too low on the forehead. Anywhere where the forehead wrinkles at, it can cause the unit to lift and it gives the unit an unnatural look. So you don't want to place the hairline too low. So never commit to a hairline. Whenever your client asks you, oh, I want my hairline to be here or there, just let them know, you know, we have to do what's best for the unit and what looks most natural. So never commit to a hairline. Try not to allow your clients to see the mirror until you're done, because they're going to be nervous, you're going to be nervous, and just allowing them to see the mirror and dictate the haircut can complicate the process. What I did here, I just drew in a part line just for an example for you guys. Whenever you start applying the glue, you want to make sure apply it around the area wherever you drew the part. Don't place the glue on the area where you drew the part. You know, leave a little extra width around the sides of the part, because you know whenever you start cutting with your clipper, you know the part's going to be a little bit wider, so you don't want to get any of that glue on your trimmer. So leave a little extra space. Now I need you guys to remember, you want to get the glue as close to the edge up line and as close to the hair on the sides as possible without touching the hair on the sides. Because if you touch the hair on the sides and you apply that glue there, whenever you go to lay on your weave across the top, it's going to cause a hard line between the hair on the sides and the hair on the top. And especially when you're doing a fade-in type haircut, or if the hair is too low on the sides, you're definitely going to see that hard line. And that's one of the things that I have encountered doing these hair units. Now, if you have thick hair on the sides, let's say the client has grew his hair out 3 weeks to a month, if you make that mistake, it's a lot easier to blend in than having low hair on the sides. All right, so once you apply your first coat of glue, you want to apply it evenly all over the head. Don't be cheap with the glue, because you definitely need 3 coats of it, 3 even coats of it, so that the unit does not lift in the client's sleep, or, you know, comes off when they start sweating and stuff of that nature. So once you apply your first coat of glue evenly, allow it to dry. It's usually going to take 5 minutes or so until it is clear. And once the glue is clear, reapply your second coat of glue and apply it the same way until it's clear, and then apply your third coat of glue until it's clear. And once you're done with your third coat of glue, then you can apply the hair. Do not try to dry the glue fastly with a hair dryer or anything of that nature. All right, you guys, now we're applying our first strand of hair. Whenever you get ready to apply it, make sure that you stretch the hair slightly so that it closes in any gaps whenever you lay the hair. You don't want too much scalp exposure, and you don't want it to look like you have streaks of light spots in your unit. So slightly tightening the hair, it closes in those gaps whenever you get ready to lay it. Go ahead and tap it a little bit. Make sure that you allow all the hair to touch the glue. And if you see any light spots, you can slightly roll the excess hair from the top down into that light spot to fill it in a little bit. Now we're applying our second strand of hair side by side. You lay it slightly over the first piece that you laid, slightly covering the edge of the first strand. And as you can see, whenever I laid the hair, I pulled it just a little bit, and what that does is it closes in the gaps so that whenever you lay the hair, it isn't a lot of light spots and it's not a lot of scalp exposure. And we're going to do it one more time. You see I'm slightly pulling the hair and I'm laying it down with some pressure. Then I'm going to release it and I'm going to put more pressure on it. Press it down, press it down. All right, and what I'm doing with my fingers is I'm just slightly tapping in little areas and making sure it touches the glue. And what you want to also do is slightly move. If you see any light spots, slightly slide the hair or roll the hair. The excess hair that's on the top, the hair that you need to cut off, try to roll it down into the light spots wherever there's glue at, so that it can cover up those areas of scalp exposure. And we're just gonna continue, lay it side by side by side. Now, if you wanna have a unit that's got real thick hair, you see how on the first side, I just laid one strand of hair. On this side right here, I had two strands stacked on top of each other. And it's simply because, you know, once you do these units for a while, you can pick and choose how you want to do it. You don't have to always stick with the same format. And what happened was with this particular unit, on the left side, the first side that I laid the one strand of hair, you can see it looks a little bit more wavier. We ran out of that particular type of hair, so we had to use a different pack. And I didn't have enough time to prep the hair and do all of those things. So I just said, you know what? I'm just gonna throw it on here and I'm gonna run with it and see if I can make it work. Now you see I'm pressing down with a towel. I'm just trying to apply even pressure all over the head just to ensure that the hair sticks to the glue. Now, because I'm more experienced with doing these units, you might see me doing a few techniques that I do not want you to try on your first time. And those techniques are: do not lift up the hair the way I just lifted the hair. Do not pull the hair with your hand or with the clipper whenever you go to cut the hair down. Now, as I said before, the hair that I laid on the left side, you can see it's more of the kinky braid twist, because you see how it looks like individual little braids that's very wavy. And the hair on the right side is more of an original Marley hair. I would suggest you get find a type of hair that isn't individual braids, that isn't thin braids like that, because those thin braids, they can cause too much scalp exposure and it can cause you to have streaks in the top of your unit if you're not experienced and if you're not laying the hair correctly and prepping the hair. And what I mean by prepping the hair, back teasing it with your comb, picking it out, expanding the waves so that the hair isn't so wavy, and so that the specific strand that you're laying isn't too thin. Because if that strand is too thin, like those individual braids, it's gonna cause scalp exposure and streaks. So the hair you want to lay on is kind of like the hair that I laid on the right side. It's thick, it's wide, it isn't a lot of streaks. It isn't thin braids, because those can cause complications. And whenever you do that, you might have to fill it in with fibers, and you might have to fill it in with, high beams or some type of hair color to not show the streak. And you don't want that. You want your unit to look as natural as possible. Now, as you guys can see, we started the cut down process. When the video first started, you see me doing a little choppy action at the top of the hair like I'm doing right now. That is called breaking the backs of the waves. So there's going to be little waves that's sticking up. Just break the back of the waves so that you'll have you'll be able to cut the hair down without tugging the hair away from the scalp. Because if you tug it away from the glue, it's going to be more scalp exposure, and it's going to cause the unit not to last as long. If you do tug a piece away from the scalp, just press it down with your finger. Break those backs like that right there. Go ahead and get most of the hair out your client's face. And another tip you want to remember is whenever you're doing these units, clients are already going to be a little nervous, so try not to have any mirrors around for them to look into, because you're going to be nervous, they're going to be nervous, and if they see that mirror during the process, they're probably going to be wondering, man, how is this thing going to turn out? It's looking crazy. What is this guy doing to me? So try not to really turn them toward the mirror or hand them any mirror. Remember, you're in charge. If they asked you to put their hairline in a specific place, just let them know that the way these units are set up, if you put the hairline in the wrong place, the unit can come up. So try not to put the unit too far down on the forehead. Anywhere where the forehead wrinkles at, that's not a good place to put the unit. Always place it above it if you can. All right. We're going to keep breaking those backs and knocking down that bulk. We're moving very softly, not pulling any of the hair. Now this process right here, it is a very time-consuming process. It can take upwards to 45 minutes to really get the hair cut down where it needs to be. Now we're doing the edge-up process. You want to leave the edge-up process for last, or right in the middle of your cut down process. You just want to make sure the unit is securely in place. I usually do my edge up kind of in the middle of the cut down process. Once I've cut most of the hair down and I kind of see my way out. When you first start these things, you're a little skeptical, like, man, I hope this hair works right. Man, I hope, it adheres to the glue well. So you're a little nervous. But once, you get halfway down through the cut down process, you start seeing a little light at the end of the tunnel, and you want to go ahead and do your edge up. That way it gives you a little bit more confidence. It gives the hair unit some form of structure, and it makes your client a little confident as well, because like I said before, the cut down process can take 45 minutes or longer. So it's just a good thing to do kind of in the middle, instead of waiting all the way to the end of the cut down process. In all the classes that I take in that teach custom hair units like OG Walkers and Wade the Barbers, it's the same process. You got to understand that this is a journey, and it's going to take a bunch of practice, trial and error on your own to really find out your style and how to do these units. Even my instructors in the classes that I took, they all admitted to having to wash out 3 to 5 units, especially their first couple units. They messed them up, so they had to wash them out. Land the hair the wrong way, having streaks, experiment with the wrong type of hair. You're going to encounter all types of things. So just take it easy on yourself. Try to practice with someone that you're comfortable with. Someone that understands that, it's a journey. It's a skill set, just like cutting hair, that has to be developed. You're not going to take a class and just go in there and do it perfectly the first time. Some of you might do it, but majority of you won't. In the same way, you're not just going to go to barber school and come out of barber school cutting hair like a professional barber, unless you've been cutting hair years prior to going to barber school. So take it easy on yourself, you guys, and just make sure that you set aside a few hours to practice these things. I usually do them at the end of the day when I'm done cutting all my clients. I'll take 2 or 3 hours to practice on these hair units, and just continually develop my skills. Continue to take other classes. There's other classes that you can take that teach you how to make custom units, like the toupees. Those are definitely good to look into, and that's a good skill set to have, because if you can find a hair vendor, or if you can make your own toupees, it'll make this hair unit process a lot easier, because then you won't have to cut the hair down and worry about individual streaks and laying the hair the wrong way then, because the unit's already completed. So now we're going to move on to the cut process. As you can see, the hair started out thick. I just continually broke the backs of those waves, and I just cut the hair down slowly. Took my time, trying not to dig too deep, because if you dig too deep, you're going to run into gap in the hair. You don't want to try to break a back of a wave and go all the way down to the scalp. So just be very light-handed and very careful. And as you can see in this particular hair unit, like I said, I used 2 different types of hair. I was just experimenting here. You can see some scalp exposure and some streaks. I mean, that's all well and good. If the client is balding right there at the corners of the temple, if you rewind the video, you can see I did not lay any hair there in the beginning. What I wanted to do was cut the unit down, get an edge up going, and then I went back and I cut a piece of the hair and I laid it right there at the corner to give it a more fuller look, instead of just putting beiging there or some form of color that whenever he gets in the shower or whenever he starts sweating, it might just come off and it's going to have your unit looking a little weird. So I just applied a little glue there, and then I just took a piece of the hair, one of the strands like before, just a little thinner strand that I had already cut down into like a 2-inch section, and I just laid it there. I let it dry, press down, put a little pressure, and then I started the cut down process on those little corners the same way I cut the top down, and I just tried to blend it all in. Alright, you guys, you're getting ready to see a quick switch between the videos, and now this is the almost completed version. All I did in between these 2 videos was use my airbrush machine to add a little bit of color to the sides of the fade, because his hair is so low. He had only been growing his hair a week, so in order to really blend it in with the unit, I had to add some color to give it a more natural transition. So what I did, I just started at the baseline of where I applied the hair, where his hair was balding at, and I sprayed with my airbrush gun, and I used a little neck strip to block the dye, to absorb the extra dye, the excess dye, so it would give it a more natural look. And I just took a little brush and just brushed and spread the dye throughout the transition of the fade. Then you want to take a little bit of hair fibers, and you can spray a little bit of hair fibers around the base of the fade as well, where you started to apply the hair, and in the top of the actual unit as well, if you have really light spots, or if you just want to make it a little darker and have less scalp exposure, you can do that. Then you want to take your got to be glued freezing spray, your freeze hold spray. Spray the top of the unit, spray the fibers, spray the color on the sides, and just give it the sealant, this form of protection, so that the color will last longer, the unit will last longer and not lift as much. And as you can see here, there's going to be a lot of small little strands, because we are dealing with weave, so there's going to be strands sticking up. So once you cut it down with your clippers, you can go back behind it with your edgers, a steady hand, and just cut all those frizzes off, or you can use scissors. Just make sure you're not tugging on the unit at all. And just be reminded, these are hair units. You know, your edge up in the front might be a little slanted, you know, the first couple times you do it. It's not going to come out perfect every time. And now you can see I'm recording with my cell phone. I'm just showing you the top of the unit, the sides. And you see the top, there's still some waves there, and you see a little bit of scalp exposure. That's kind of good, you know, it gives it a more natural look. And that's pretty much it.